Right, so for those waiting for M3 Max, I come bearing some great news because we could see an October launch for these, which is very exciting and also kinda confusing, so let's delve into it. So ever-credible Apple guru Mr. Mark Gurman told us we should see two events in the fall, one for the iPhone in September as per usual and an October event for new Macs. Now yes, I know some of you guys might be thinking, duh, isn't that obvious, Mr. Gurmy? Well, actually, for once, Gurman isn't giving us vague information. You may not realize this, but we don't have October events every single year. For example, last year there were press releases instead of an actual event, and while there was an event in 2021 and 2020, there was no event in 2019. And by the way, would like to remind you guys, like this video and subscribe for more content like this, it would be appreciated. And so yes, I did very much appreciate this confirmation from Gurman that we're getting an October event, because the next big thing for the Mac is M3, so that should be the focus of this event, and that's why I'm both excited and also confused. Excited because it's M3, guys. Every tech YouTuber on the planet, including myself, has been rambling on about M3 for months. And no, it's not just pointless hyping up from us nerds for yet another small upgrade that's going to increase the performance by 0.0001%. No, this actually will be a massive upgrade. It's going to be Apple's first 3nm chips, which is going to be way more powerful whilst offering a major battery upgrade. Now, I'm actually most excited about the battery upgrades because as someone with an M1 Air that's now 3 years old, the battery life definitely is a little iffy right now, so of course, if M3 does have major battery upgrades, I'm gonna be throwing money at Timothy for a shiny new MacBook. And excitingly, based on what TSMC's told us, who produces these chips, we could see these chips be 30 to 40% more efficient, and that could bring the MacBook Airs closer to 24 hours of endurance on a single charge. That gets me tingling everywhere, and of course, Apple's already flexing on the competition with 18 hours of endurance, and so they're just further extending their lead at this point, and it's getting hella embarrassing for all those crappy Windows laptops on the market. And so for those still using the absolutely trash Intel Macs, or even those on M1 Macs like myself, you could consider getting these new Macs because there are going to be big upgrades, performance and battery life wise. So now you may be wondering, why am I confused about this? Well, we can expect the base MacBook Air to be one of the first Macs to get this brand spanking new M3, and that's kinda odd because we just saw the 15-inch MacBook Air release back at WWDC. I actually mentioned this a few weeks back, and it's a big reason I returned the lovely 15-inch MacBook Air, because while I was in love with the size and the ginormous display, there was not a big performance difference, and so if M3 was right around the corner, why not just wait for M3 and release a 15-inch in October instead? Now, one could argue the reason Apple just went ahead with this release, even with the older M2, was because it's a simple refresh that could boost sales, since Mac sales right now are not too great. In fact, it's pretty horrific because I believe Apple saw a 40% drop in sales in the previous quarter, so Timothy is panicking and desperately wants to increase sales. And so yes, re-releasing the same MacBook in a new size could do just that. At least that's what Apple thought, but of course it seems consumers have woken up and realized this actually is not that great of a value, because we already have reports that demand has been weaker than expected, and specifically shipments in July were 50% less than originally estimated. 50%! That's a massive chunk, and Timothy's probably panicking right now, and I know there's gonna be a few Apple's doomed articles that follows these stats, but let's be honest guys, I don't think this is Apple's fault. M1 was released at the perfect time because everyone was stuck at home working remotely, and so instead of keeping themselves warm with an overheating Intel Mac that crashed every second of its life, the M1 came in with incredible performance, battery life, efficiency, and yeah, basically this destroyed the competition. So yes, M1 saw a massive boom in sales. But of course, now that life has returned to normal for most, that work from home market has drastically reduced, and especially when the 15-inch is a chonker version of last year's 13-inch and really does not give us that many big upgrades, it's kind of obvious why consumers are not interested. I do also want to mention, I think the low demand right now is the reason Apple's going ahead with M3, because clearly the minor refresh that is M2 has been rejected by the market. Apple apparently has piles of M2 just lying around, and they're not sure what to do with it because demand has been that bad. And so Apple needs a major upgrade that's going to entice consumers, which should hopefully be M3. But even if regular consumers don't get tingling sensations for a brand new chip inside, I remember hearing M3 has a low yield rate because it's this new 3nm process, and so having limited supply might actually be a good thing because demand for laptops is not that great right now in the first place. And so yeah, things are working out perfectly for Apple. Anyways, that same report regarding the 15-inch MacBook Air having low demand also says the base MacBook Pro, yes, the 13-inch that's still a thing for some reason, should also be refreshed with M3 later this year. Now, I've already mentioned countless times why I am confused about this refresh, and well, I'm gonna rant about it again because I'm still completely lost about this. Why the heck is Apple releasing this? What benefit does this give to consumers and to Apple? Because if anything, it complicates the range, especially now that we have a 15-inch Air. The lineup does not need a base Pro. This machine used to make sense because the Intel Airs were absolutely underpowered and could only open one single Safari tab before thermal throttling, and so for anyone looking for a more powerful machine on a budget, the 13-inch Pro was the one to get. Heck, I started this channel with a 13-inch Pro, so yes, I understood its purpose back then, but now with the M-series chips, we have a ridiculously powerful fanless MacBook Air that chews through 4K content. I've been using one for 3 years with absolutely zero issues, and so there is no reason to have a Pro variant when the Air is already kind of a Pro machine. And yes, I know there's going to be people in the comments saying, hey, there are consumers who will buy this just because it says Pro. And that is a fair point, there are very dumb consumers like that, but just for lineup consistency alone, they should get rid of this. Simplify your range, Apple, don't complicate it. This machine basically highlights everything that was wrong with the old wheezing Intel Macs, because this has a lack of ports, it also had a touch bar that was useless for most consumers, and was freezing most of the time, and so yes, why keep this in the range alongside the other modern Macs that have MagSafe, a regular function row, thinner bezels, better speakers, the list goes on. And so yes, it makes no sense, it looks so odd, it pisses me off. Please, Timothy, I know you have an addiction to recycling the same chassis again and again and again, but it's time to discontinue this Mac. Don't give it M3. It's time to leave this design in the past and move on. Now, thankfully, this report's from Digitimes, who's notorious for being absolutely wrong, but unfortunately, Gurman does also say this is in the works, and he's actually pretty legit. So yes, I guess this is happening, but please guys, do not buy this. This has a worse FaceTime camera, worse speakers, chunkier bezels, and also no MagSafe compared to the cheaper Airs. So don't be fooled by the Pro branding. No, you won't look cool buying this Pro laptop. You're gonna look like a fool instead. Now, by the way, I do want to mention the only M3 Macs we're getting this year are some of the base models. So Gurman specifically says the 13-inch MacBook Air, the 13-inch MacBook Pro, unfortunately, and also the 24-inch iMac, which is good to see because that poor thing has been neglected for quite a while and is the only machine stuck with M1. And so yes, I'm looking forward to these updates. Now, I still do think it's gonna be a bit weird. The cheaper MacBook Air has a better chip because clearly you should pay less to get better performance. That makes sense. But anyways, Apple's nonsensical rollout is frustrating for me because we're probably going to have to wait till mid-2024 to get M3 in the 15-inch, and that would just be the perfect laptop for me because I want that big display, but of course with M3, so please Apple, get that out as soon as you can. Anyways, let me know your thoughts in the comments, make sure to like and subscribe for more content like this, and thank you for watching.